Okay, with Rhyess Nash, Stand Part One Burial is the screenplay that played at the Fantasy Sci-Fi Film Festival. Winner at our festival, Network ICA submission, which we're getting into the Network ICA game. So it's good to talk to you. I think you're a first winner from Network ICA for the Fantasy Sci-Fi Festival. So I appreciate you submitting, and I hope you enjoyed the experience so far.
I did. I appreciate, and I'm humbled by the award. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
So tell me about this screenplay, Sand.
Like what it's about and everything.
Yeah, give us the lowdown.
So it's basically just about a father and mother who it takes place in a fantasy alternate Earth type thing. Uh, Mazim, the main character, he is a warrior, but he has a special ability where he can kind of like move his consciousness to steppe eagles, and he's used as a reconnaissance personnel for the military that he's a part of. The bird in the beginning gets captured by the enemy,
Yeah.
uh, and Mazim, despite the fact that they've lost the battle and their village is impending invasion, Mazim decides to stay in the village, keep his family there with him because he thinks he can protect them and doesn't want them to leave. And all because he doesn't want to abandon the bird in the event that the bird comes back or he can go rescue it. It's his ability is extremely important and valuable, but it's also his biggest weakness because he won't abandon the eagle. So what happens is the enemy invades the village, and because of his decision to have his family stay and himself stay, his son Mezut ends up dying. So the rest of the story beyond that point mainly focuses on the fallout of the tragedy of their son dying. So Mazim and Layla, his wife, have to reconcile emotionally how to send their son off to the afterlife in their culture. Uh, they escape the village because it's been invaded, but they have to go back to bury him. Otherwise, he can't move on to in this world. He can't move on to the paradise of that world. He's stuck in the underworld until they bury him.
So thematically, there's a lot going on, right? It's
Yeah.
about someone choosing something like the eagle using is the eagle serves as sort of a metaphor for you can kind of tell us, and he kind of chooses the eagle over his family's safety, which
Yeah.
is an interesting kind of like choice that he makes because how does the audience like with because you're just giving us the bullet points, but how does the
Mm.
audience kind of rectify that this main character would do that?
So he's very bold and like toxically proud. I don't want to say like toxically masculine. He's a warrior, so he's not. It's not like a bad thing there, but he's
He-
uh he's just very proud and very confident. In the story, he goes actually in the beginning after the eagle gets captured. He tries to go rescue it himself right away, and it goes disastrously. He doesn't die, but he almost does, and a bunch of his like allies, his part like other soldiers in his army, they come to rescue him and they lose their lives. So he's very brazen, and he thinks that, oh well, they can defend the village from the invasion. They have walls. It's a strong village. And mostly he's just so connected to the eagle that he just cannot bring himself to abandon it by fleeing the village for safety. So he just maintains that he can save the village. He needs the eagle more in a way internally. The eagle's more valuable to him than his own family, which is not really what he feels in his heart, but he just thinks that way because he thinks he's useless without it. So his decision to stay is very selfish, and that's why it ends up costing him essentially everything because his son is his world, and then he realizes after Mezut's death that now that it's too late for him, but he realizes then he made the worst decision of his life.
but you basically have like part one. You basically say part one burial. So is there a part? I'm assuming there's a part two.
Yeah. So I've begun writing part two. I haven't finished it, but part two, I don't have a title for it yet, but like a tagline, but I want it to be about Mazim and Layla like becoming essentially like these freedom fighters because the invading army, the Sojans, they sweep through the country. Um, and so Mazim and Layla, after burying Mezut in this part, they go out and join like the resistance group for their people in the country. The main military's, essentially destroyed. They've lost, but they have a team of citizens and some former soldiers and everything that can resist the enemy. I don't have the whole plot worked out yet, which is why I haven't written the whole thing. But
Yeah.
I want the emotional core of that one. I want to be Layla slowly over that. Well, she does in this script as well, but even more so in the next part, she completely like disconnects from Mazim emotionally because she resents him so much for Mezut's death. By the end of it, they are essentially strangers, and it's a bittersweet ending because I want it to be where they win and they like free their country, but they're so broken emotionally by Mezut's death and the fallout of the war and everything
Yeah.
that Layla doesn't even she leaves Mazim and they go their separate ways.
So there's consequences to the pride that this gentleman has, right?
Yeah, that's what I want. The main theme is like he's just so proud of his ability and thinks that's his whole life.
One of the seven deadly sins, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and would he do it over again?
Well, that's the big question, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think he would answer now that he wouldn't, but I think if it happened again, I think he would because he wouldn't know. I mean, if he would know the consequences, probably not. But
So do you remember when you kind of like these themes are really interesting? Do you know like because obviously there's something conscious or unconscious to the reason why you're writing it, but do you remember when you first kind of came up with this idea for the story?
yeah, I came up with it. I've always loved like Egyptian mythology. I didn't want to be pigeonholed into being super faithful to it, so I kind of
Right.
made my own world in a way. Like it's not beholden entirely to that mythology, but I've always loved it, and I wanted to really. Um, I don't think this is controversial, but I just don't like how Hollywood always changes. Let's say like Western stories, they change them to fit into other cultures when they're for the West. Like they just, I don't know, they do questionable things with. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do instead of changing a Western story, I'm in the West, but instead of changing a Western story to fit, a global thing, despite that it wasn't really meant for that, I wanted to give life to an Eastern story that takes place in the East, in the East, and it's a fictional world, but to us, the Eastern part of the world with Eastern characters, not beholden to the West or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of a response to why Hollywood, they seem to be very uninterested in Eastern cultures. And it's kind of sad because like Egypt is amazing for mythology and themes and the people. It's rich in culture. Obviously, we all know this, but Hollywood doesn't seem to remember that or something. So I wanted to give life to that type of world that we don't see. We always see Norse. We always see, you
Yeah.
know, in just in general Western settings for everything.
Yeah.
And I like those stories. I love them, but I wanted to be different in a way.
I guess it seeps in like the ideology seeps in some of these action movies, but or even dare I say superhero movies, but
Yeah.
I see your point, right? So
Yeah. Denzel Washington had a great interview where he was talking about, he was mostly, I mean, this isn't why I wrote Sand, but he was mostly talking about race swapping. And he was like, why don't we get our own stories? Instead of like injecting ourselves into other culture stories? What if we get our own and make our own films? That's why he made movies like Fences and stuff like that for his culture, that everyone can enjoy though. But instead
yeah,
of commandeering another like a Norse thing and then putting different, making it a basically Los Angeles's demographics,
yeah. Or
it's
there's
just
yeah.
yeah,
I was just gonna say there's also like mini stories about the white man going to like Tom Cruise has done it, Matt Damon has done it, like the white man going to Asia and kind of like
yeah,
seeping, yeah, and
yeah.
like,
The white
whoa,
savior
this
thing.
interesting culture from the white perspective, right? So yeah,
Yeah. It's the white savior trope, and that's again. So that's why I wanted. I also didn't want to do in Sand. I didn't want to have not that I don't I have no problem with white people, but I just wanted to give like a different culture there, like day of to be proud of something. So I wanted to do. I didn't want to have like any Westerners in it at all, not necessarily white or any other color. Just I wanted
yeah.
to make even the bad guys in the story of Sand are Eastern. The Sojans are supposed to be Mongolian, like the like Genghis Khan Mongol type people. So
So
even they're
you're
just
like, so you've been working on this for about 6 years. Of course, you're doing other
yeah.
things, like other
Yep.
scripts. So you're pretty proficient. It's according to the blog, like you've written a lot of scripts. Do you remember when you like what's your origin story as a screenwriter? Do you remember what got you attracted to it?
Oh, for screenwriting, I haven't really been writing physically for that long. Like literally typing scripts up. It's only been uh I think I started in 2017. So I kind of conceived of Sand like a year into that, but I've been mentally thinking of films and writing for since I was like in middle school. So that
Yeah.
was like 2007, 2008. So it's been a long time that I've wanted to do filmmaking and wanted to write. Another script I have, Journeyman. That's like the first idea I ever had for a feature. That was begun mentally writing and coming up with the story in like 2010. So that's an old one for me.
Did you go to school for it or?
I didn't go to school for filmmaking specifically. I have a business degree. But while I was at college, I went to Mitchell College in New London in Connecticut. And I took some electives I took for screenwriting to kind of learn how to format and everything. But I didn't go formally for filmmaking or anything.
So but this is is this your goal, or like I guess you're dabbling in other things in your life and.
No, this is plan A. I mean, I have plan Bs, but I want to, I really, really want to be a screenwriter. I want to be I mean, I do filmmaking as well. I have shorts that I've made with a team of people, great people that are around the area, and they're awesome. And I hope they become successful as well. But I've worked with a bunch of people around here and made some good and bad shorts. I mean, we make bad ones sometimes because we don't, have the right vision, but we've really done, I think, good work on limited budgets. None of us have a lot of money. So, but with screenwriting, I think that's the one thing that I can do alone that, I don't, not necessarily, I love relying on people in film, but it's nice to be able to, like, this is my thing. But the flaw that comes in is, well, sometimes if I make a mistake, no one can tell me, but that's the one thing I think I can give. I can do it alone and really make something of myself at some point, hopefully. But I think Sand and some other stories I can get a foot in the door, maybe.
So I'm because usually there's a stereotype with people who write like fantasy sci-fi films, and this is definitely like action. Obviously there's dramatic
Yeah.
roles, but you kind of you get I can pigeonhole people. We're all, I guess I'm guilty of it. Where
Yeah.
like you're a sci-fi fantasy guy, so you're like kind of like a fanboy, or but then
Mm.
it's but in your according to your blog it says that you're an NFL expert.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's just like my dad has coached football. He doesn't coach it anymore, but he coached it well before I was born, and then my whole life up until like a couple years ago. So he's coached semi-pro, not in the NFL. He's not professional, but he
Yeah.
coached semi-professional in New England. Um, and I've grown up watching the NFL and his league, the semi-pro league in college, but mostly the NFL. I just ever since I was little, like I started watching football when I was 6, and I've just studied it like a student for, from 6 years old to now. Like
You can
it's
read
never
it. You can
stopped.
read a defense.
Yeah, yeah,
So, who's your first of all? Who's your team?
unfortunately, the Giants,
Why?
but
Unfortunately, you guys had a
well,
good. You guys have a good run.
they have a good history. I love the history, but they're bad now. They're not very
Yeah,
good now.
but listen, you guys got those two miracle Super Bowls with
Yeah,
under
I know. I know.
Eli Manning. I was at
Yeah.
that was it the 2008 Super Bowl.
Yep.
That was phenomenal. That was like one of the great.
Yeah.
I
The giant upset. Yep.
Okay, so we don't I'm gonna ask you a trivia question because I like to
Okay.
think that I'm an NFL expert too, and you can throw it back
Oh,
at me.
awesome. I might get it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm overconfident.
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot.
No, no, I know. I know. I get
this
it.
is probably before your time, but I want to see where you're at.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know Joe Gibbs, right? Coach of
Yeah.
the Redskins. So he won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. Name
Okay.
those 3 different quarterbacks.
See, that one will be tough. Um. So I know the Super Bowls. The one I remember the most. He was coaching them in the '90s when they beat the Bills, right?
Yeah,
Okay, they won that one. See, I'm good at Super Bowl like trivia, but not the players all the time. I know they won against the Bills 37-24. Uh, and that was like then they had the Hogs on the offensive line. I can't remember the quarterback that year.
who
It
was the
wasn't
quarterback?
Theismann.
He won
It
the
wasn't.
Super Bowl MVP.
It wasn't Theismann
Well, he's
because he
one of
got
the
injured.
quarterback. He's the first one. He's the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
one.
but he
Yeah,
got he got injured before that one.
yeah.
Um, It's drawing a blank. This is what I mean.
Mark Rippon.
Mark. Okay, so I know who that is. I
And
just
then
couldn't.
who's the second? So you got with Theismann. Then who's the guy? Who's the first black quarterback? Giving you a
Oh,
little.
Doug Williams. Doug
There you
Williams.
go.
Yeah,
There you go.
42-10 against the Broncos.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
You could throw one back at me if you want. But we're putting you on the spot. So
Well, I do have one that a lot of people don't know.
okay.
It's not ancient or anything. It's just some people forget or don't know about it. I don't know if I can ask the question, but I guess it's one of my more interesting pieces of trivia.
Ask the question.
So I'm trying to think how to word it. Who are the current Browns the same team as they were when Jim Brown was playing?
No, they're the Ravens.
Okay, there you go. There you go. You got it. A lot of people don't know that. You'd be surprised.
Well, in your generation, I guess, right? But
Yeah, a lot of my friends, like I told them that, and they're like, "What?" And I see like it's funny how Browns fans are like proud of their history, but they technically only have from 1999 till now.
yeah,
They don't
but
have.
technically they basically grandfathered the old franchise, right? So the
Yeah,
Ravens are almost like a expansion team, even though they took all the players and they took the whole staff and everybody, right? So
yeah. Well, it should be though. The Cleveland Browns are the expansion team. They didn't
yeah,
even exist for a year. Then they became a team after '98. They didn't exist, and then '99 they came back. And I don't know. It seems weird to be a Browns fan now and then pretend that you have Jim Brown and Otto Graham and everything.
yeah. So who is one more for you? What
Yeah,
name the teams that have not made the Super Bowl?
not made the Super Bowl. The Lions. Let me think all the
We
teams.
just talked about one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What you mean who have not won or who have not
Who
made
have
it at all?
not gone to the Super Bowl?
Not made it all yet. The Browns, Lions. Uh, I go by divisions, so I'm going East. Obviously, they've all made it. AFC South, Titans have made it. Oh, Jaguars have not made it.
Yeah.
Colts have made it. What's the other team there? Oh, the Texans.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's
That's
it,
it.
isn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah. Can
but
you
the
believe the
Cardinals went but
Lions?
lost.
What's that?
The Cardinals went but lost. I almost said them, but I remember they lost
That
it.
was a great Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, one of the best.
If you have one more, throw it my way. Give me a hard one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what was the score of you might get this one, it's pretty
Oh,
famous, but what was the score of the 1958 NFL championship?
73 to nothing.
Nope.
Oh,
1958.
that was sorry, the fifth the you mean the overtime game?
Yep.
I know, but I know it was the Giants and the Colts. I know
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And I know that basically it was oh my god. The brain freeze. I read the book. I read the book about
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know the score. I'm not a score guy, but what was the score?
It was 23-17.
23-17. So instead of going for the field goal, they went for the basically they went for they went for the touchdown, right? So
Yeah, they did like a fullback dive up the middle of the score. Yeah.
yeah, and then was that infamous 4th-and-1 play, right? Where they were what's his name? Gifford thought he got the first down, and then they
Yep.
went for the punt, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, like so the famous coaches, who is the offensive and defensive coordinator for the Giants?
Giants. That's a. Whew.
Two of the most famous coaches of all time.
Yeah, I probably know who they are. I just can't even I forget that they were on that team.
So
I know Lombardi was on the team.
yeah, he was the offensive
He was
coordinator,
the offensive. Okay, he was
and
the
who was the
offensive.
defensive coordinator?
Trying to think of the time period. Who did the? It's not the. Is it Bud Ryan? No,
No, I'm more famous than that.
more famous than that.
He's
Okay.
famous for his hat.
Oh, Tom Landry.
Tom Landry,
Oh,
yeah.
was he the defense? See, I didn't even know he was a defensive
Can you
coordinator.
believe that there's actually
I,
a book about those guys? Like this came out last year about Landry and Lombardi. I actually read.
yeah,
I'm kind of a nerd.
yeah,
And basically they were the offense. He was the offensive coordinator. Landry was a defensive coordinator, and they both let them. The Giants let them both go. Can you believe that?
yeah. That's crazy. And then Landry went to the Rivals. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And then the Giant. Well, I don't think they were rivals at the time, but yeah, but they
Oh
became.
yeah, the Cowboys probably weren't in the East yet at that point.
But basically, so then that was like 26 years of bad football for the Giants until
Yeah.
Parcells came back, right? So
Yep.
Parcells came.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they had Belichick, yeah, for defense. So,
Yeah.
who was the head coach for that team?
Uh it was some like Southern guy, Tommy Lee, whatever. I
Oh, okay.
can't remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even. It's so weird to have those famous coordinators. And the Colts had Shula right at that time.
Yeah, he was Don Shula. Then they let him go too.
I know it's so crazy.
So yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so basically, yeah, so that's basically Tommy Lee Howell. I think it's Tommy Lee Howell, Jim Lee Howell, Jim Lee
Jim
Howell.
Leal. Okay, gotcha.
So basically, he let those guys do whatever they wanted to do. So yeah, that's sometimes that's a good coach. It's like filmmaking. If you got a
Yeah,
brilliant team, let them do what they need to do and kind of get
yeah.
out
I
of the way.
mean, it makes sense, but it sucks to leave them. You know.
All right, man. Well, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there, but
No,
basically,
no, no. You're good. I love football, so I always love trying to answer, and I learned something. So there we go.
I'm from Niagara Falls, so I'm a diehard Bills fan. So
Oh, that's good now, but I feel bad for the Super Bowls.
yeah, well, 25, right? You old enough to watch that?
The
The one
what?
the one that you guys beat us, 2019.
Oh yeah, 2019. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Scott Norwood miss. Yeah, I wasn't old enough to watch it, but I know about it. Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad watched it.
Yeah, so that's like the heartbreak of my I had an exam the next day. I think I got 30%.
Oh yeah, that's I can't imagine. That would have been devastating. Yeah, I have been lucky. The Giants haven't lost a Super Bowl in my lifetime. They've been bad, but they haven't lost one. It
Well,
must
they
have
did
been.
this. They have. They lost against the Ravens.
Yeah, I know they lost that. Why wasn't I didn't watch then? I was
Oh,
not old enough yet to watch it. I was only like
oh,
3.
you're a young
I'm
puppy.
young.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm young. In my watching career, I haven't seen him lose, but
Yeah, so you got our coach, our Dable. Dable was our offense. He's the one who
yeah,
trained Josh Allen, right? Mentored
yeah.
Josh Allen. So
I don't know if he can train Daniel Jones, but
no, he can't. No, they have to start over. They have to start from scratch.
yeah, he's awful. Josh Allen's
I
amazing.
he's good. Like yeah, I think he was trying to make Daniel Jones Josh Allen because he was the running and like kind of
Yeah,
like, but Allen's he's just an incredible athlete, right?
yeah. Well,
So
he's one tier below Mahomes for ability. He's not quite
he's
Mahomes, but he's
yeah,
close.
I don't basically we those are heartbreaker games, right? Like
Yeah,
those could be anybody, like especially the last two games. But anyways, but
yeah. I got you. Yeah, yeah.
eventually we have to win one with this guy, right? So
They should. Yeah, and I love the coach. What's his name? Sean McDermott.
yeah, McDermott, yeah.
Yeah, I love. He's awesome. So he deserves something.
All right. Well, let's talk again when you write your
Yeah,
next script and basically what's the schedule just came out as per this podcast. So enjoy the
awesome.
season.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
All right, man. Let's talk again soon.
All right, definitely.